Excellent. All right. Welcome to this new English lesson. I'm with Mary, and we're here to talk about prepositions of place. People tend to think that English is filled with prepositions of place, but this is only partially true.
Доброго дня всім. Ласкаво просимо на наш наступний урок. Сьогодні будемо обговорювати прийменники. В першу чергу прийменники місця.
These might be words like on, over, above.
Прикладами прийменників місця в англійській мові є такі слова, як on, over і декілька інших.
Okay. So, historically, the Romans invaded England at some point, and English is filled with Latin.
Завдяки римському вторгненню на територію Британських островів, які сталося більше 1000 років тому, в англійській мові дуже багато слів латинського походження.
We think that English has about 1 million words, and that plus an additional million just for science.
Було підраховано, що в англійській мові близько 1 мільйона слів, і ще десь 1 мільйон слів – це медичні терміни.
Excellent. So, if you compare this to a language like French or Italian, Italian has about 700,000 words to English's million. We're excluding the science words.
Якщо, до прикладу, порівняти англійську і французьку мову, то підраховано, що у французькій мові 700 тисяч слів разом з медичними термінами.
I don't know how many words Ukrainian has, but English has never had a problem to steal or invent words. The English is creative in this sense.
Мабуть, пояснення тому, чому в англійській мові так багато слів, це тому, що англійська мова завжди історично дуже багато слів позичала з інших мов.
The French and Italians have a kind of ministry that decides what is an appropriate word for their language and what is not, which is why the French use ordinateur instead of computer. Yeah, they don't like importation.
I just wanted to say that, Bradley.
Did
this
you?
Is something that I know too. You know, I actually made a research on that, and French is the only word where the word computer is not used.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah, it's extraordinary. Ми зараз обговорюємо, що усі мови світу використовують слово «комп'ютер». Це англійське слово, і воно було, коли комп'ютер було почали використовувати, тобто це слово було запозичено абсолютно в усі мови світу, але у французькій мові є своє слово на позначення комп'ютер. Bradley, can you say it again, the word for computer in French?
Oh goodness, I feel like in these lessons I'm angering every culture right now. The French are going to, now the French, yes, okay, here's my terrible French impression. Ordinateur.
Це комп'ютер на французькій. Thank you, Bradley.
Fine, thank you. Yeah, no problem. De rien. Right. So English has never, presumably the word computer got to the Ministry of French Language and they said no, just no. However, there's no Ministry of English. We accept all words. In fact, a word like shampoo, this came from India. Go ahead, yeah.
До прикладу, слово шампунь було позичено в англійській мові з Індії.
Otherwise, we would just be stuck saying hair soap or something. I don't know what we would say.
Мабуть, якщо б англійці мали придумати слово для шампунь, це було щось на кшталт мило для волосся або щось таке.
So the problem with Latin is that it happens in the more formal part of English, like maybe you go to the doctor or you go to the police, and these are the kinds of words that you would see in a police report.
Слова латинського походження в англійській мові, як правило, використовуються у формальному мовленні, наприклад, коли ви йдете до лікаря або до поліції.
If you speak Spanish, French, any of the Latin languages, these are probably familiar to you already, these words. You can guess what they mean.
Якщо ви говорите італійською або іспанською, то ці латинські слова латинського походження в англійській мові будуть вам 100% відомі.
As when you read a book, you're reading something by Hemingway or you're reading the paper or whatever you're reading, we tend to shift to this to literary words. And what's happening is that we're moving closer to Anglo-Saxon, which is where we feel comfortable.
Зрозуміло, що якщо ви читаєте книгу або газету, то там ви більше зустрічаєте літературних слів, і тут ми наближаємося вже до англосаксів.
And when we speak, we tend to use a lot of these phrasal verbs. We've seen them once before, I think, but you see one verb with two words.
І коли ми спілкуємося в повсякденному житті, то ми більше використовуємо фразових дієслів. Ми говорили про них декілька уроків тому. У таблиці, яку Бредлі наразі нам демонструє, це третій список spoken, так? Тобто це такі повсякденні варіації формальних і літературних слів, і вони, як правило, фразові дієслова.
Many students tell me, okay, I understand when I read, but when people speak, it must be their accent. It's such a nightmare when they speak. Yeah, well, we're probably also changing the words for you. Yeah, which is not helpful.
Студенти Бредлі дуже часто жаліються, що коли вони щось читають, то вони розуміють краще, ніж коли вони чують мовлення, коли люди говорять у повсякденному житті.
Especially because the second word in a phrasal verb it's not a preposition of place. It doesn't tell you where something is found. You need to look at these as a united concept. Two words, one idea.
Так. Чому виникають труднощі в розумінні фразових дієслів, які часто використовуються в повсякденному мовленні? Це тому, що друге слово у фразовому дієслові – це прийменник. Але його значення дуже часто жодним чином не пояснює значення всього фразового дієслова, бо значення фразового дієслова треба розуміти уніфіковано, а не як значення двох окремих слів, наприклад, go і on.
Sometimes in a sentence we can split up these words as we've talked about before, so it's really important to see them as one idea, if that makes sense, because the further they get away in the sentence, the more you tend to think it's an actual preposition. It's still not a preposition, yeah?
Ще одна проблема з фразовими дієсловами, про яку ми теж говорили, це те, що фразове дієслово може розриватися. Тобто наприклад, якщо ми говоримо про фразове дієслово go on, щось відбувається, то між go і on можуть знаходитися інші слова, і тоді дуже важко зрозуміти, що тут саме йде мова про go on.
Okay. This is a kind of thing that we teach people that don't speak English natively. I learned this as a teacher. They never taught me this in school, right? I mean, if you tell your host family, phrasal verbs are really difficult, they will have no idea what you're talking about.
Так, і ще одна проблема полягає в тому, що фразові дієслова, як правило, їм не приділяється дуже багато уваги, до прикладу, під час шкільної програми в Англії. Люди, як правило, вивчають їх просто спілкуючись у повсякденному житті.
Naturally, we tend to like things that are Anglo-Saxon. They feel closer to our heart.
Для англійців більш зрозумілими є слова, які є англосаксонського походження.
So every word here is absolutely a synonym. They mean the same thing, right? Effectuate, finish, and carry out, it's the same. Organize, tidy, sort out, it's the same thing.
Ми сподіваємося, що ви зрозуміли, що слова, які ми вам зараз демонструємо у табличці, вони є між собою всі синонімами.
We do, I should say, maybe not quite the same thing. Phrasal verbs tend to focus on a process rather than a hello. No, I don't like that. Hold on. I'm going to edit that out.
Є насправді такий один нюанс. Фразові дієслова, як правило, фіксують процес.
So, I worked out that my boyfriend was cheating. I'm really terrible at examples. I realized that my boyfriend... Okay.
Наразі Бредлі демонструє нам
Realize.
Два речення, де використане фразове дієслово work out та його синонім realize.
So, in theory, work out and realize are synonyms. They mean the same thing.
Вони синоніми означають одне й те саме.
And I'll even write realize with the British spelling. Okay. So, an English speaker will probably actually, so realize, it comes from Latin, and I'll probably get the idea that this was an instant event, like, I don't know, maybe I read a text from the new girlfriend or something, like this is an instant thing, like that. Work out for me, although the result is the same, you have this idea that it's slow somehow, it's a process, like maybe one day I smelled her perfume, or another day I have these little hints somehow.
В англійській мові дієслово realize є латинського походження, і такий нюанс між синонімами латинського походження і, власне, англосаксонськими словами. Realize, який є словом латинського походження, воно більше означає таку миттєву подію, тобто дізналася в одну секунду, хтось мені сказав, до прикладу. А workout, як фразове дієслово, воно означавався протягом якогось часу. Тобто, до прикладу, спочатку відчув парфуми, потім мій чоловік почав пізно приходити додому, і тільки потім я дізналася, що він мені зраджує.
Well, it isn't true that every phrasal verb is a process rather than not. This is the case with many phrasal verbs, and of course, so I really love them. Yeah.
Так, тобто це така специфіка саме фразових дієслів в англійській мові, що вони, як правило, визначають процес, тобто вказують на дію, яка не сталася одномоментно, не як миттєва подія, вона тривала у часі.
It also means that we can introduce new verbs into the language. So something like check in or check out of a hotel has probably not always been in general usage. It was invented at some point.
Фразові дієслова, як правило, дуже часто позначають якісь нові реалії, які виникають в повсякденному житті, як то, до прикладу, check in the hotel, зареєструватися в готелі. Check in – це фразове дієслова. Sorry.
No. Incidentally, Shakespeare invented 10% of the words he used, so feel free to invent your own English if you'd like.
Дуже цікава інформація. До прикладу, Шекспір наразі винайшов 10% усіх слів, які він використовував. I've heard somewhere that Shakespeare is considered to be one of the native English speakers who had historically the biggest vocabulary.
Yeah, because he invented 10%. But yeah,
Really?
he did. There's lots of words. So there's actually a Google program. I don't, have you used Ngram? I think it's called Ngram. So
Engram, no.
maybe we'll use it later, but you can, oh, we could use it. Well, we'll use it at the end maybe, but you can put in
Okay.
a word and you can see when it peaked, like when it started being used. So they've scanned in all of the old works and you can see, of course, it's difficult because Shakespeare is like, what, 1600? It's difficult to find a lot
Uh-huh.
of literature before
Yeah.
1600, but yeah, Shakespeare, yeah, absolutely. I can imagine he had an amazing vocabulary though.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Is there any statistics? How many words should one know to be able to communicate freely in
Oh,
English?
there are. There are, and I don't have them on the top of my head. And I would imagine that older people have a bigger vocabulary. You know what I mean? Because we don't really read books anymore. Like,
Unfortunately, yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Well, what I know about Shakespeare, I might be wrong. That his vocabulary was about 5,000 words. Is that
that sounds
big
right.
enough?
That sounds big. Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
really big.
hmm
That sounds
So
really big.
probably you and me have like what, 2,000 or what?
Maybe more. I mean, I know the smallest vocabulary I can imagine. Pilots have to know 700 words. I used to
Oh,
teach
really?
English. Yeah, I used to teach English for aviation, and there's this big book of words you must know, for radio contact. I mean, you can't know fewer
We're
words than
speaking
this.
about terms.
No, just like pure
That's
vocabulary. Like, yeah, like,
pure. Oh,
like aeronautic, like lift and drag, or, you
oh
have to
my
know
God.
all of these, like,
Then if we have 2,000, then we are really smart.
yeah, but I think 700 is
In this.
definitely not enough, right? Because,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you do these simulations with pilots, and you're like, okay, well, there's a list of, I'm not making them up, right? There's a list, and it'll say, like, a
Mm-hmm.
patient has had a medical emergency on board, and then you see these people that have memorized 700 words about physics, right? Physics and
Mm-hmm.
aviation, and
Mm-hmm.
they can't radio in that like their patient needs a doctor. I mean, it's like I think 700 words is definitely not enough.
Okay.
Do you want to explain any of these
Yes,
concepts?
I'll translate it very briefly.
Yeah,
Ми
fine, fine.
наразі обговорюємо з Бредлі. Ну, мені стало цікаво це питання. А, і скільки слів англійською мовою потрібно знати, щоб вільно нею спілкуватися. Ну і до прикладу, ми Шекспіра тільки що обговорювали. Він вважався для свого часу, ну скажімо так, дуже обдарованою та освіченою людиною. Його вокабуляр складав десь 5,000 слів. Це дуже багато. Тобто, тому і виникло це питання, скільки слів треба знати, щоб більш-менш вільно спілкуватися англійською мовою.
Yeah, okay. I guess one more thing. When you learn English, I think it's important to say, how do you think about your learning as an adult? Because when we go to school, we normally look to our teachers. We produce a sentence, in whatever language. Like I say in French, I say, Je suis Bradley. And then I'm looking to a teacher and she like pats me on the head like a dog and she gives me a treat. And then I feel like really great about my language ability. However, this is not adult English.
So what you're saying is that as adults, we learn English through imitation?
Yes. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
as opposed to like this kind of thing where you buy a CD, and you repeat exactly what's on the CD, and you're like expecting real people to sound like that. But I mean, what I'm afraid of is this. So, I wish I have more slides, but if I were teaching medical students, which I have, I tell them that all of the body, most of the things we care about in English are from Anglo-Saxon, right? Parts of the body, members of the family, days of the week. These all come from Anglo-Saxon, and people think this is like the end because they've learned English from high school, right? So they think, okay, if I memorize the days of the week and the parts of the body, then like I'm done. right? This is the end. It's not really, it's the beginning. Like, I am expecting you at some point to know these things, right?
Так, де певна кількість слів в англійській мові є англосаксонського походження, але це далеко не увесь словниковий склад англійської мови, тобто дуже багато слів, які історично були запозичені в англійську мову, тому I've heard somewhere that the days of the week are Celtic.
They are, yeah. They're for the gods. Like, wow, this is even worse than woman. They're for the gods. So Thor, the god of thunder, that's Thor's day. Yeah, it's a bit silly.
Freya is the goddess of what, beauty, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, I think so. We do are the days of the week in Ukrainian for the planets. Are the days of the week in Ukrainian for planets? How have you named your days of the week?
Понеділок, вівторок, середа, четвер, п'ятниця. I can't hear any planets.
Okay, because in Latin they're named for the planets, so and even Latin. Latin, French, Spanish for the planets. So Jovedi is Thursday, and that's for Jove, which is Jupiter?
Sounds alike.
But even in English, this is the case for a few days. So Monday comes from moon. So that's moon day. And it's the same in Italian. Luna is moon, and that's lunedì.
Luna is in Ukrainian luna, moon.
Well, what's Monday then?
Понеділок.
Okay, then no.
No luna.
And Sunday, of course, the same in English for the sun. Yeah, so we had a really hybrid approach to naming our days of the week. I don't suggest it.
Look, that's in Russian. Неділя українською мовою. Неділя is Sunday in Ukrainian, but воскресенье in Russian. Воскресенье is resurrection.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, excellent. That makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So here, happy pre-Easter, by the way. Happy pre-Orthodox Easter.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So you can see this difference between Latin and Anglo-Saxon in medicine. Here are some English words for parts of the body, parts of the body. I'm going to move on. And here are the words that English doctors use.
Наразі демонструємо слова, які вони анатомічні терміни, тобто слова, якими будуть користуватися англійські лікарі, вони усі латинського походження.
But no English person will come to the doctor and say, I have a problem with my scapula or my humerus or my radius. No one will say that. They'll come and say, oh, look, I have a problem with my arm or my hip or my elbow. And here's Anglo-Saxon, 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 every single bit of it.
А вже ж латинські терміни на позначення анатомічних частин тіла, які використовують лікарі, вони мають англосаксонські еквіваленти, рука, нога і таке інше. I absolutely love the Latin for the lower lip. Mandibula.
Please say this in Ukrainian.
The lower lip?
Yes. No, that you love the Latin for the lower lip.
Well, that's the way it sounds in Latin is absolutely horrific, and I actually use it in Latin quite often because of how it sounds. But it's нижня губа українською мовою. Нижня губа.
Okay, so we've come to actual prepositions, right? Actual prepositions. So we were looking at phrasal verbs. Those weren't prepositions because they didn't tell us where something was found, right? A preposition will tell us, where, like direction or where something is found. These are actual words of direction.
Наразі демонструємо вам слайд, який містить прийменники англійської мови, і це прийменники, які вказують на напрямок.
If you are an engineer or a doctor or a nurse or an artist or if you work in anything where spatial things are important, you need to know how to find things where they are. These are really important.
Ну, розуміємо без жодних пояснень, що прийменники місця є дуже важливими навіть у повсякденному житті.
I don't know, Mary, if you want to translate these. There's like 100 of them, so that's a lot. Or if you have...
First of all, that's a lot. And as far as I'm concerned, prepositions have different meanings depending on the context. And some of them are synonymous. And, you know, as a person for whom English is a foreign language, and, you know, for me it was a battle sometimes to learn different things, I would... you know, for example, be concerned how you would explain the difference between over and above, for example.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
As a native speaker, how do you see the difference between these two prepositions?
Over and above.
As the prepositions of places, of place.
Yeah, I imagine I always feel bad being responsible for every speaker of the English language. But I imagine, so if we take something like under and underneath, this neath, I have the idea is like hidden. You know, you like, so under, you could talk about something that's visible. Underneath, you think about something that's invisible. Like if I said under the water there's a shark or something, I would imagine that I could see the shark, and underneath the water there's a shark. I would imagine that the water is brown or something. Like I can't see what I'm looking at. This is useful. Above and over and below and under, I get the idea in one case, I wish I had a pen and paper to draw you a drawing. But in one case, I get the idea that the things are attached. And in the other case, I get the idea that they're not attached. Do you want to translate this so far? Do you want to translate? I have to not say wanna.
Well, I see it more or less the same, but I think that if you say, like, for example, there is a plane above over the sky, the clouds, for example. There is a plane above the cloud or over the cloud.
No, I like above the clouds.
Above the cloud. So is there an idea of being invisible because of the cloud as well?
No, I wish. This was possible. It's only possible with underneath. It's only possible in a down sense. It's not possible in an up sense. I wish we had overneath. I wish that was a thing.
Yeah, something like that.
I know, like, so if you, the example that I usually give for this is if you have a building with 10 floors. Do you want to translate so far?
Yes,
Am I getting help? Okay.
That's what I wanted to do.
Okay, go ahead.
Ну, неможливо наразі перекласти всі прийменники, які є на слайді, тому що багато з них є контекстуально залежними, тобто значення прийменника буде залежати від контексту, в якому він використовується, але це було моє питання, бо для мене англійська мова теж не є рідною, тобто я її вивчала як іноземець, і, до речі, є такі синонімічні прийменники в англійській мові, як то under and above, and below, sorry. Тобто перекладаються вони абсолютно однаково. Знаходитися під чимось. Але між ними є така дуже суттєва різниця. До прикладу, прийменник under, він використовується, коли ви говорите, що щось знаходиться під чимось, і воно там приховане. Тобто, наприклад, під столом буде under the desk or under the table. Below більш використовується не як щось десь ховається, приховане і таке інше, а воно використовується значення, що щось знаходиться нижче чогось іншого. Тобто, до прикладу, якщо на стіні висить дві картини, так, тобто одна не ховає іншу. Тобто одна картина буде знаходитися нижче іншої. Це буде below. I tried.
It's lovely. You're doing great. If I had a building with 10 floors and I was on the third floor,
Угу.
I would say that the second is below and the fourth is above because they're directly attached to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I actually already tried to explain as I see it. I imagined two pictures hanging on the wall,
Yep.
and one picture is below the other.
Yes, fine.
So it's not hidden.
Yeah, okay, okay. There's also this idea of being directly attached. Like, there's also an idea of proximity, right? So, above and below, I get the idea that they're somehow attached, somehow closer. I don't know. Another problem that people often have is over and through, which is similar. Like, through, you have to enter something, normally be hidden, and then come out of it, which you'll love for metaphor. We go through problems.
Угу.
Yeah, go ahead.
І ще одна пара прийменників, які для людини, для якої англійська не є рідною мовою, це прийменники over and through. Знову ж таки, якщо говорити про їхній переклад українською мовою, то оба прийменники можна перекласти як через щось. Але, до прикладу, якщо ви хочете сказати, що ви пройшли крізь через тунель, то буде through. Тобто цей прийменник використовується, коли ви кудись заходите, як до тунелю, до прикладу, так, і виходите назовні. Тобто це значення цього прийменника.
So you can imagine that through, just like metaphorically, and you can talk about metaphor in a second. Hold on, let me see what oh my goodness, okay. I was just looking at my next slides to see where we're going. Yeah, so you can imagine that in reality, like my husband has a sausage maker. He goes to buy meat and he puts the meat through the sausage maker. It enters as meat, it exits as something else, right? Sausage, like with spices and salt and pepper and whatever it has in it. And so, yeah, I think through, you could say you go through the forest, in which case you're obscured and you come out on the other side. So through, I think, is one of the most difficult, I think, in English.
Так, ще наводили приклади, ви пройшли через ліс. У цьому випадку також використовуємо прийменник through.
Okay. So, yeah, here some preposition come in groups. Here are some grouped prepositions.
Деякі прийменники можна вивчати групами.
Some prepositions also function as conjunctions. So if you want to read this, please do. If you want to translate this bit here.
Так, деякі прийменники також використовуються як сполучники. Ось, до прикладу, нам Бредлі демонструє два приклади. Вони внизу слайду. Після того, як я зустрів його учора ввечері, я написав його сестрі. І після зустрічі учора ввечері я написав її сестрі. Тобто тут використовується after, але у першому випадку це сполучник, а в другому випадку це прийменник.
And we can see here that the most common are after, as, before, since, until. They don't tell us where to find something. They tell us when it happened, or they help us bridge two sentences together. They help us glue two thoughts together.
Як прийменники і сполучники використовуються також слова after, as, before, since і until.
Excellent. Okay, no, we're not interested in this. Do I care? No. It is, conjunctions. That's where we were going to go after this. Oh, sorry, collocations. Okay.
Так, і наразі обговоримо, ми використовуємо слово колокація, можливо, воно не дуже знайоме пересічному громадянину, скажімо так, це сполучення слів.
All All right. So my brief explanation of this is that sometimes we see a preposition of place because it goes with the word before it. So we believe in God. I don't know why we don't believe at God or for God or to God, but that's just the way it is. We write to someone. I don't know why we don't write at someone. It's just the way English goes. Here, I'm not so concerned if you make mistakes because you don't change the meaning, right? If you say, I believe at God, it's no big problem. I understand what you mean all the same.
Наразі Бредлі демонструє приклади сполучення слів, тобто і прийменник «ін», і прийменник «ту». Є прийменники, які вказують на місце знаходження, але не в цьому випадку. Такі випадки треба просто запам'ятовувати. Я вірю в Бога, я написав тобі листа.
Okay, you are going to talk about this in a minute. I'm just going to finish up my bit now. To me, when people talk about when teachers talk about the mistakes in English that make them crazy, right? So it's my job to listen to people destroy the English language hour after hour. Yeah, I mean, and some mistakes I don't mind, some I do. Most mistakes I don't mind, to be fair. I think after years of teaching, the thing that occurs to me is that you just need a lot of time with the language to be a good speaker. And when people make mistakes here, it's just people who don't make mistakes have just had a lot of time with the language, right? Don't sit and memorize these. Spend some time with the language.
Прийменники дуже складно вивчати, і на початку вивчення мови взагалі усі роблять дуже багато помилок з прийменниками. І єдине, що можна зробити, це дуже багато слухати англійською мовою, дуже багато розмовляти. Тоді прийменники запам'ятовуються. By the way, I can explain why writing to you metaphorically.
Please
by
do.
The way,
Yeah.
that's again my favorite George Lakoff.
Well, why don't you explain who he is? Explain who he is to everyone.
George Lakoff is a very famous American linguist. And with other authors like Mark Johnson, with Polish linguists Zoltan Kovacic and others.
Is this how you write his name, Judge Lakoff?
George. No, George is G-O-E-R-G-E.
Oh, George, yeah.
George. And
you said it in the English way, yes.
Not V, but double F.
Lakoff.
Judge Lakoff, yes.
George Lakoff, yeah. Okay.
And he called it the metaphor of communication. In his terms, it's called conduit metaphor. C-O-U-N-D-U-I-T, conduit metaphor. And that, I have really hard times teaching my students why listen to me.
Okay, yeah.
He explained it in terms of the fact that communication has its direction. So
right.
When you talk to someone, you direct information towards this person.
Yeah.
And when you listen to someone, you direct your comprehension towards someone.
Yep.
And that explains everything. So communication is the transfer of information in the direction of the other person, and the one who is listening to you, this person directs his comprehension towards you. So that's the explanation is easy.
Well, and explain also about falling in love. The container method, the container idea?
And George Lakoff actually not invented, I think there is no invention in it, but he thought probably about it and somehow managed to explain that, actually his pioneer work is called, just a moment, oh my God. Okay, I will explain the falling in love metaphor. Why fall in love is because the English-speaking community perceives love as a container. So when you start loving a person, you fall into the container. And when you stop loving a person, you just come out of the container. So that is why I fell out of love.
Can you explain it in Ukrainian?
Yes, of course. Намагалася якось науково пояснити, чому ми використовуємо прийменник to, коли ми говоримо «я написав тобі», to you. Є такий дуже відомий американський лінгвіст, його звуть Джордж Лаков, і він пояснив це у термінах метафори комунікації, тому що він вбачає в комунікації обмін інформацією. Тому коли ми українською мовою ми говоримо «поговори зі мною», тобто використовуємо прийменник «з». А в англійській мові у цьому випадку використовується прийменник «to», який, його саме таке основне значення – це вказівка на те, куди спрямовано щось, рух і таке інше. Але рух є і у інформації. Тобто, коли ми говоримо з кимось, метафорично ми спрямовуємо інформацію у напрямок іншої людини. Тому там використовується прийменник саме цей. І це також пояснює, чому ми кажемо «listen to me», «слухай мене», але знову ж таки там використовується прийменник «to», тому що знову ж таки ми показуємо, в якому напрямку треба скоординувати наше слухання, скажімо так.
Wow.
Okay.
No, it's great. Okay, so for me, learning prepositions of place is a big
Percentage, but the biggest amount of our communication is metaphoric.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's him.
There he is. Hello, George Lakoff.
Hello, George Lakoff. That's him. Yeah, absolutely right.
Oh, I will definitely read this. Okay. Let me see if I can find n-gram while I'm here. Yeah. So here we have the mentions of these words in English literature from 1800. So you can see here Albert Einstein, Sherlock Holmes, and Frankenstein. Just the number of times they've been mentioned. Let me put in a new word in English like bay, meaning babe. It's slang. Yeah. I mean, you can see that in the last number of years, this word is like not really very existent until the last several years. Yeah. Right here. But if we take a word like, I don't know, brought. Yeah, you can see that it's, you can see the age of the word and the usage of the word. It's a very common English word, this.
Наразі демонструємо вам ресурс, називається n-gram. Його можна використовувати, щоб побачити, в якому році, приблизно, хоча б слово виникло в англійській мові, і яке походження воно має.
Yeah.